Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my video on the introduction to Illustrator. So these are the things I'm going to talk to you first. I know that you've already had a bit of a play using the video that I've already shared you last week, but this week I've got this one here. So these will get you set up so that you can create something like, let me show you, something like a keychain kind of thing. So that's the task. I'm going to get you to create a cut or a vector layer and an etch layer for something really small and simple, so that you can create something by the end of this week. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to set up the workspace. I'm going to talk a bit about shapes, how you can round edges of shapes, how you can set up layers, grouping, aligning, importing images, which is a slightly advanced, and how to then trace that and set it up for the laser cutter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I might just start by I'm going to go File, New. And I've got one already here set up at 1220 by 915. Remember in my last video, I said it was 615. That was a mistake. It's 915. You might not have this, but if you go to mobile or web or print or any of those ones, I think I chose mine from Art and Illustration. Make sure it's millimeters, not points. Make sure it's 1220 by 915 because that's the size of the laser cutter bed. So I'm going to go start something new. I'm going to go create. Okay. And it's up here. It's called Untitled 2. I'll worry about saving that in a tick. Yeah. The first thing I think I said that I was going to do was I was going to set up the workspace. Now, when I first started, when I went to Zoom, the page just kind of went up and down. Yeah. Let me just Command Z that. So go to Illustrator. I think I spoke to you about this before, but go to General, and it's really, really important to zoom with mouse wheel. Yeah, that'll be really useful. Okay, so make sure you got that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold on this here. You may have a rectangle showing up. I started with an ellipse tool. I'm actually going to start with a star tool, and I'm going to create a star. Yeah, you can make as many stars as you want, and they all look pretty ridiculous. If I double click on this, I'll get this here and it'll say how many points do I want and what do you want the inside radius and the outside radius to be. So I want the inside radius, I'm just going to say that it's going to be 80, and I want the outside radius to be 100. That's a 79, 80. And then hit OK. And then I've got this here. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'm going to keep that one because if you saw that guinea pig one that I just did, this is kind of how I started. So I've done that. Yeah. So, and you can play with any shape you want. Yeah. I don't want that shape to be any larger than about 60 millimeters by 60 millimeters or thereabouts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this proportions thing is turned on, so it's linked. So if I change the width, then the height will change with it. Yeah. If I've got it turned off, it won't. And I'm going to change it to, I'm going to say 60. Yeah. And watch if the 60 changes, if the 60 goes, that one there, that 200 will change as well. Yeah. To 63. So that's about 60 millimeters. Well, it is 60 millimeters wide and 63 millimeters tall. Yeah. So I'm happy with that. That's the right size. Yeah. So that's the shape. I'm going to show you how to round edges. Remember, there's the selection tool that selects entire objects, or there's the direct selection tool that allows you to adjust anchor points in a shape. So I'm going to actually click on that, and you can see all these round things turn up. Yeah, all these round things are the radiuses. So I can play around with the radius, and I think I did this in the previous video, but I'm going to pull it down until it's about there. That's as far as it can go, and I'm going to leave the shape like that. Yeah, so I'm happy with that shape. That looks good. What else I'm going to talk about? Setting up layers. So let's go to layers. So I've got that, and actually, what I'm going to do whilst I'm at it is I'm going to create a hole. Yeah. Can you see that if I go click and pull, when it goes like that, obviously it's a circle. It's a circle. Yeah. So it's the same height and width. If I put my shift button down, sorry, my command button down. If I pull my command button down, it should pull from the center. I could be wrong. Don't know how it's doing that. Yeah, you can play with that. I'm going to change that. That should be, I'm not going to make it 8 millimeters. I'm going to make it 6 millimeters because I think 6 millimeters is about the right size. And I'm going to move it using my select tool. I'm going to move it up to about there. Yeah. If I move it to about there, that should be right. Okay. Now I'm going to set up the layer. I'm going to set up that layer. At the moment, that layer is called layer 1. I'm going to call it the vector, or in brackets, cut layer. Okay, I've got it in capital letters, probably doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's my vector cut layer. And if I drop that down, you can see in that layer is that ellipse, and also that path. Yeah. So I'm going to hold my shift button down and I'm going to take both of those and go to the properties because I actually want it to be not 1 point, but if you remember, it should be 0.25 point. Yeah. So I can go into layers and I can find things inside my layers. You might have like 100 things in your drawing and you're trying to find something. Yeah. By clicking on it on the drawing, you can find out where it is in the layer and then you can play with it and edit it that way. Yeah. And in both instances, sometimes you find it in the layer and you can find it in the drawing. Okay. So that's my vector cut layer. I'm actually going to go and open up a new layer and I'm going to call it raster, which is the etch. Yeah. So I'm going to do the etching. And what I'm going to do, I think, with the etch, I'm going to group. I'm not going to group. I might group later on and align later on. I'm going to show you how to import an image. Yeah. So what I want is you can see that I'm on the raster now. That's highlighted. So whatever I do now should be on the raster layer. Okay. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into my my Chrome and I'm going to find an image of a guinea pig. And I'm going to search for a silhouette. You can search for whatever you want. You can search for a dog. You can search for clownfish. I don't care what you look for. Yeah. You could import an image that you've taken, like a photo that you've taken, but really it's not going to work very well unless it's black and white. So when I search for things, I search for silhouettes. So a building, and whatever you want. But if you search for guinea pig, a silhouette, I've got this silhouette here, and I like this one here. This actually looks a bit like Pretty Boy, which is one of my children's new guinea pigs. So I've taken a screenshot of that. Command Control Shift 4 allows me to take a screenshot of it if I've got an Apple computer. And then I go back into here and then I should be able to go Command V and it plonks it right down in there. And you can see that it's in the raster etch layer. Okay. Now, if I zoom into this, you can see that it's all pixelated. It's pixelated because it's a raster image. Yeah. Now, because it's a bitmap image. So it's bits of color or bits of black and white and gray, as you can see there. Now, the machine cannot laser cut that. Yeah. The machine needs to see it as a vector file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the properties and you can see that I've got it selected. So I've got it selected there. I'm going to do an image trace. So what the thing's going to do is it's going to trace it and turn it into a vector image. I'm going to call it, I could call it shades of gray. I could call it a black and white logo. That's probably best. You could also say default, but I'm going to go black and white logo and see what happens. And then what happens now is, again, if I go into layers, it still sees it as just this TIF file. So it's dropped down as a TIF file and there's this image here. Yeah. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go back to properties. I'm going to expand it. And then you can see the red's gone around there and around there. And then I'm going to ungroup it. Yeah. And I'm going to ungroup. I'm going to click ungroup again until it stops saying ungroup. So what I've got now, if I look into the layers, I should probably have a path and a compound something or other. Yeah. That compound layer is actually the white part, the outside of the guinea pig. And that path there is the inside, where the actual guinea pig is. So I can either click on that and press delete, yeah, or I can click on this white space here and press delete, and I've got rid of it, and I'm just left with this path, yeah. Now, that's the path there. If I go to properties, you can see that it's filled with black and it has 0 stroke, yeah. I actually want to make it red because anything that's going to be etched is going to be red. Okay, so anything that we're going to etch on the laser cutter must be red, and anything that's going to be cut must be black. Yeah, so I've got it there. I'm going to move it into there. It's too big, isn't it? Yeah, so what I'll actually do is I've still got that locked on. I'm going to make it, let's say 50, and that probably looks about right. And now this is where I'm going to show you the grouping and aligning. Yeah, I've already shown you how to image trace, and then I'm about to show you how to set up for the laser cutter. So this and this, I've now got both of those. I've selected both of those. You can see that on the layers. You can see that I've got them all selected. I'm going to group them together by going Command G to group. Yeah. So this is one group now, and you can see that it's a group. Yeah. I'm going to take that group and shift that group as well. So I've got 2 objects now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to align them so they're horizontally aligned. Bang. And I'm going to align them so that they're vertically aligned as well. Bang. And then if you look at that, one's directly on top of the other. Yeah, it's still not going to work 100% well because my hair is sticking out there and his bum's sticking out there. So I can either A, change the width and the height, or B, I'm going to try and rotate it around a bit and see whether I can get as much here in as I can. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? He's still too far to this side. So what I can do is I can nudge it a little bit with my arrow keys. So I'm actually going to push it with my arrow keys until it's just about touching. I still think it's too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that width from 52 to 50 and see, yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? Okay. So now it's ready to go. Yeah. So when I print that out, obviously that's going to be there and that's going to be there. It doesn't really matter where the hole is and where the guinea pig is. I'm going to make this for my kids and I'm sure they're going to be very, very happy about it. Okay, so you can see it there. I've got it kind of randomly stuck in there, but what I want you to do is I want you to take it and I want you to put it up into the top left-hand corner because that makes it very easy for me to find. Okay, and then what I want you to do is I want you to save it. And what I'm going to get you to do in your table groups is I'm going to get you to share all of your little keychains with one person, and that one person is going to email it to the laser cutter. So what I end up wanting to have, I'm just going to do this really quickly. Command C. I'm going to go Command V, Command V, Command V. Yeah, let's see whether that'll work. Probably not. Yeah, so I might end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different key rings, and they'll all be different, all set up around this space here. Yeah, so that when I send it to the laser cutter, I can cut them all out in one hit. Yeah, what I don't want to do is have 18, 20 emails from each class and have to print out 18, 20 different jobs because that just takes forever. Yeah, so each job will take about, if I've got one keychain, it will take about 3 or 4 minutes. If I've got 6 keychains on it, it'll probably take 5 or 6 minutes. And I'd rather spend 5 or 6 minutes, so 1 minute per keychain rather than 6 minutes per keychain, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So what I would do is I would go and let me just see what was I going to say. I was going to say image trace, setting up for the laser cutter. So it's set up for the laser cutter, but we need to save it, don't we? Yeah. So I would go file and I would save. And for me to keep it for myself, I'm going to save it on my Creative Cloud, yeah, and I'm going to call it GP01 because it's my first guinea pig thing. I'm going to hit save, and it will save that onto my drive. If I want to share that with somebody, I can, but it doesn't work. They can't open it up in Adobe Illustrator and faff around with it. So I'm sorry. There's probably a better way, and we might work that out during the year. But at the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to get you to go and save it as, and I'm going to get you to save it on your computer, yeah? And I'm going to get you to save it into downloads or something like that. I'm going to save it as Illustrator 2000, yeah, everything's okay. And it's in my downloads now, so you can see it'll be in my downloads. My downloads GP001 AI. And then what I will do with that is I will take that and I will go and email that to whoever it is, the representative on my table, who's going to set them all up so that we've got them all set up. So that we've got them all set up and ready to cut out. Okay, just reiterating. I know that one looks almost exactly the same as. Sorry, let me zoom out. That one looks almost the same as that one there. Sorry. So I get a bit excited when I go zooming. So you can see that one there is the same as that one that I previously made. Yeah. So I've just shown you how to set up the workspace and the zooming and stuff. I showed you about shapes and rounding the edges of the shapes. I talked about setting up the layers, and I'm going to go back to that in a tick because that's really important. We talked about grouping later on when I grouped the circle and the shape. I talked about aligning when I talked about horizontally and vertically aligning the guinea pig and the shape. I showed you how to import a guinea pig and how you're looking for a silhouette, how to image trace it using black and white, and then how to set up for the laser cutter. Yeah. Before you email it to your buddy, can you just make sure, I'll go back to this one here. Can you just make sure that you've got 2 layers, one layer that's called vector in brackets cut, and it can be capitalized or not, I guess, and one that's called raster etch. If you all do the same thing, actually, I'm going to recall this. I'm going to call this vector cut. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but if you all have the same, it should be vector space cut. I'd be interested to know if you then sent this to your buddy and your buddy opened it up. I'd be interested to know whether their layers would combine with your layers. So you'd have your work in the raster and your work in the vector and theirs in the vector and raster, or whether there would be another 2 layers. I'm not 100% sure whether that would work. But either way, you've got it, you've saved it, okay? And you've got those two layers. Once you've got those two layers sorted out, you've sent it to your buddy, you guys have quality checked your work, you'll then send it to me, which is lasercutter@isbasel.ch, and I will print it out, yeah? It doesn't take long, as I've said, to print it out. It doesn't actually take long to do this either. And I know I'm rambling on towards the end, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to follow this through and you'll be able to create a fantastic little keychain thing that you can take home and that will set you up beautifully for designing your own LED lamp. Okay.